State of coaching. Like, I wanted to do this video like maybe a few weeks back, and I was thinking about it because I was looking at these coaches and like how the coaching staff work or doesn't work and how it affects teams and everything that's going on. And I have to say that right now the coaching is at its lowest level that has been in a while. I think we are literally going back. I was on a stream with Richard and I was talking about this, but I thought like I was gonna do a video as well for you people here. So just to explain what I mean by when I say the coaching is lowest that has been in quite a long time, and I think we are even going backwards. And it's not just coaches per se, like it's their fault. Like, there's a lot of guys that are trying to make their way into tier one CS, or they're even in the tier one CS, but they're either kind of slowed down by the incompetence in the organization. That's like, just giving too much power to the players, or giving too big of a role, too big of a voice to the players to decide what they want. Or it's even worse when they actually, they don't know what are they doing, so the coaches are not being utilized, the analysts are not being utilized. Like, it's just a mess, and it kind of stops the progress of players, like, just making the game, instead of making the game better and players better, they're just staying the same or just becoming even worse. The thing is, like, right now, we lost many coaches right now. It's just, for example, you see Zeus, one of the best coaches ever. He took a long break. Now he's back with Flux. So, but I don't think that's gonna last very very long. And he was in Liquid, he was in EG, and in the legendary Brazilian squad. He's one of the best. He's driven away by this incompetence of the orgs, as well as me. I think I was doing an okay job as a coach, at the very least, and those things kind of drove me away from it. I had no desire, and I still have no desire after things that happened with EG, that to coach anyone ever again. It's just maybe that will change. I don't know. The thing is, like, it kind of, all these things kind of drove me away. And I'm looking at these coaches right now and how they do things and how the things are being done in the organizations, and it's quite bad, to be honest. And like I said, it's not only that the coaches are like more so YouTube coaches that kind of look for things on YouTube, like I said, and just it's it's the fact that obviously they didn't go to school for any interpersonal skills or anything like that, and they don't have the support of the organization to do whatever they want to do in order to make the team better. And on top of that, some of them, most of them, they don't even. There are exceptions, obviously. There are good coaches out there like Zonic and Blade and whatnot, right? But the thing is, like, most of them, they don't know how to organize a team, and how to run a team, and how to organize staff around themselves, how to make the proper workflow and processes, and all these things that are required for you to run a esports team or any kind of team if you're a coach, right? So the thing is, like, what I had in mind, and I'm gonna tell you here right now, what I wanted to do with EG squad, right? The thing is, like, in the EG organization, the things that I wanted to do myself, and to kind of take coaching to the very next level. At the time when I was like full of motivation, I wanted to do so many things. I was ready to dedicate 100% of my life into the coaching role and try to make, whatever org I joined. This is not bashing on EG or anything like that. It's just they were right there. They were the ones that kind of made me go away from the coaching after the scandal. But it's not the idea that I want to say. It's just I wanted to bring the coaching to the next level than it is right now, just for the next step. So maybe someone after me can bring it to the next level after that. And it's like, I think it's time, because it's important, because there's a lot of money, a lot of young players, there's a lot of talent that needs to be, just properly managed. And I do think, like, we are failing at that right now as organizations, and coaches and analysts, and all this coaching stuff. Anyway, the things that I wanted to do is, the way I wanted to do things in EG is like to structure the coaching in a specific way, right? And something that has never been done before. The idea was that the team, the team, the esports team, whatever, is just to be a separate entity, in a way connected to the organization through the middle management, team manager, general manager, whatever, like all these teams. But we are functioning at a separate entity. Obviously, we are answering to the organization. We are doing what we need to do in terms of sponsorship deals and like all these things, but we are functioning like a separate entity. And you have the head coach at the helm of the whole thing, the guy who is going to be making, not making all the decisions, because it wouldn't be a dictatorship or anything like that. It would be like he would be the strongest voice and he would have the strongest role in the decision making. Obviously, he cannot make a purchasing or any kind of decision like that without the approval of the senior staff and the general manager and the people who are in charge of money, right? But the thing is that he would have a stronger voice in the terms of like who do we want to go for, what kind of direction are we going to take in terms of like playing, like do we want to be like a execution based team or people based team, are we want to go for a pure firepower, or we want to work on the team. The style you wanna use. You have like in football, you have different examples. You have Jose Mourinho, who is playing defensive football all the time. You have coaches like the Zerbi, who are playing super aggressive. It's just like stuff like that, right? People who like a lot of possession of the ball, people who don't like possession of the ball. It's just the same thing, but the manager, the coaches is deciding. They call it a football manager, but the coaches are deciding which kind of approach we're gonna take. So basically, that person would be the person at the helm of the team, right? And he would be deciding, like, are we gonna play this or that? Who are we gonna bring? Do we need this type of player or that type of player? Aggressive, defensive, right? And it's his responsibility to do all of these things, right? So, and obviously, if it fails, it's his responsibility as well, and he should get sacked. But as long as he gets the opportunity to kind of make these things happen, right? So that's the whole point. Anyway, he would take the top tier position in that like separate entity, that the esports team right there. That's a CS:GO team. Let's say it like that. It's much better. So, like I said, he would take that, and then his first responsibility would be to build the coaching staff around him, right? A team of very competent people, very smart people that would help him do the things that needs to be done in the team. The first two that would probably go, would probably like be hired by me, and solely me. I would be the one doing the interviews. I would be the one, choosing like who I want to work with. And obviously, if the management agrees with the salaries and the financial and the paperwork and all these things, contractual like things, then it would make sense, right? But it would be another process that needs to be like implemented into the whole system of the team. So first two people would be the two analysts, like not just a classical analyst that's going to be watching like the demos and telling me what the teams are doing on the pistols or just garbage like that. He would be an offensive analyst and defensive analyst. So it's like one would be in charge for CT side and one would be charged solely for the T side. So those two would never like mix each other in terms of like getting in each other's way, because one is responsible for one side, the second one is responsible for the second side. Now people are gonna think like, yeah, that's a big staff and you want to like, nobody has money for that. I'm talking about the top tier organizations, the organizations that are like proven to have like financial resources, the teams who are partners with ESL and Blast and so on, teams that paying $25,000-$30,000 to their players. They can certainly put that as a part of a budget they need to be spending on for the next year or multiple years or whatever it is, right? So anyway, you would have the offensive assistant, offensive analyst, or offensive assistant coach, and defensive analyst as well. So those two person would be in charge for everything that's going on in game. I don't want them involved in any kind of psychological grooming of the players, any kind of bullshit like that. It would be just straight for the game. They would be in charge for the game. They would be talking to me. They would be working with players, and they had no contact with the organization whatsoever. If not needed, they're just focusing solely on the game and helping the team being better, right? In obviously working with me at the same time. So, and I could also delegate jobs. Like for example, you have. Let's say we are struggling on the CT side with our anti-force buys or anti-ecos or whatever you want to call them, right? Or we are struggling with rotations with utilities. So let's say my analyst tells me like, listen, last week we played 7 Infernos and our average utility damage is like, on Inferno CT side is like 300, right? When the normal average damage for the teams is like 850, right? And then he says we're struggling there, and then he comes to me and says like, "We said this is the problem. I think this might be the solution." We talk to each other, and then we present that solution. We find the solution, present it to the team, and implement it into the actual team, and then we fix the problem so we don't have 350 damage utility damage on Inferno when the other teams have 800. Like, they're just random numbers, but you know what I mean. So, and obviously we're talking about the defensive coach, offensive coach as well. The T side, he's saying like, listen, our default has a gap here. I think like we are not reacting to some of the situations right there. So he comes to me and we talk to each other and we find a solution. We present it. The same goes with preparation for the games. One is preparing CT side, one is preparing the T side, obviously with me, and that's basically their job, right? So they're just focusing solely 100% on the game. They're not really like, doing anything else besides being, in charge. Not in charge, but partially like 100% only with the game. I guess that makes sense. That would be those two people, right? Obviously, there is a team manager who is in charge. Obviously, it can be an in-house. I don't have to hire that person, obviously, but it would be an in-house manager who is in charge of connecting contractual obligations and all like sponsorship obligations and scheduling with the matches and practicing and all these things, flights, travel, all hotels, all kind of media, everything that needs to be done for the sponsors, for the fans, whatever. It just needs to be delegated to that guy, and he's the one talking to the players, and he's the one talking to the upper management, right? And he's that bridge between two of us, right? And then he's like organizing all this, including the practice, booking the practice, all those things that needs to be just done. So that's his role, right? And then the final part of that little coaching staff machine that we would have going on is that sports psychologist. Now you saw it probably on all these videos and all these teams. They're just talking about all this sports psychology. You can see them on social media, and I do think they're very smart people. They're educated people, which is super important. They're experts in their field, most of them, and they know what are they doing. So they just need a little bit more time to kind of understand the ecosystem and the dynamic of the esports instead of traditional sports, or the people who are God forbid terminally ill. There's a lot of these people who are working with those kind of patients as well. So there is a little bit different. There's a bit of time and period of adjustment on understanding the esports world, right? And coming into that one, so I would have to have that kind of person, that type of person, and he wouldn't really work me, right? He wouldn't really sitting down with me and like deciding like, listen, and I'm talking like asking me like, how do you feel about this? And just, I don't need that. I need you to be 100% focused on the players. You're not talking to the analysts. You're not talking to me. You're just talking to the 5 players that you have in front of you, and this is your responsibility. Basically, the mental state of those people and the mental well-being, and the everything that's going on that aspect of the game is your responsibility. And obviously you talk to the players, you come to me and say, listen, this player has this type of problem, he's feeling like that, he's like this and that, whatever the reason is, and I, as an expert, this is the solution. I think we need to implement this in his regiment, in his routines, in his like whatever, right? So, and he comes to me and we decide like if that's good or not. So we end up doing all these things, and we find the proper solution, and we just implement it and execute it on the player, on the team, on whatever we need to do. Obviously he has his time with the players, his time with the team. Many of these people, they're like requiring like a group sessions and individual sessions, and that's all fine as long as we are working towards something that's planned and organized, rather than just having team meetings and individual one-on-one sessions that leads to nothing. So basically that person would be in charge of that, and this is what would be like a little coaching staff of what would be like me, offensive coach, defensive coach, team manager, and the performance coach, or whatever you want to call it. So sports, not psychiatrist, but sports performance coach, whatever it is. So the thing is like that would be the five 5 people that I would probably hire to organize this thing. And now you can switch to the team, like, and then you can go and like, listen, we need offensive type of player. We need a player that's gonna be aggressive. So that we go to the market, we see what we have, what we can buy, what kind of budget do we have, we see who is available, and we find the best solution, we bring it to the team, and you slowly build it. Like, obviously you have unlimited money, like, some of the orgs, then it's fine, you can buy like top priorities, but if you don't have the money, then you can like, you have to kind of compromise a little bit and do the best you can. And this is where your expertise as a good coach will come into play. You need to make sure that you bring out the best of the player from the players that you have. It's not about just buying the most expensive player, being the just getting the most popular, the best player. It's just getting the best out of the things that you have, right? And it's also important for the head coach, because that's his responsibility to understand what kind of a player he has and what are their limits, and what they can do with their skills. So basically, if you have a player that is very one-dimensional, but his strength is like super good, his aim is super good, he's very sharp, and then you need to use that. You don't give that player any more responsibility than he can handle. So you just point, like, you organize your system, you organize your game to the way that he can perform the best. The same goes with a defensive type of player who is really good at closing rounds, who is really good at playing off the information that he has. The first one that comes to mind is obviously Blame F. He cannot play good unless he have the full picture of the round, full informations, right? And that's something that's his strength, right? If you put him in a position where he needs to chase something, he's not going to perform well. So your job, my job as a head coach would definitely be to find that strength into players and implement it in the team. So, and obviously we are talking about the tactical side, we're talking about the mental side, we're talking about like teamwork and all these things that are happening inside the practice, and especially on the events. Many people are saying that practice, like I heard a bunch of interviews on the challenger stage from people saying like, yeah, the practice doesn't really matter all that much, it's more important in the game. No, it's completely opposite. The practice matters the most, because this is where you get the habits, this is where you learn things, and this is where you translate those things into the official game. So the practice matters, and this is the result of it's not their fault. They're saying that it's the fault of the lack of the coaching staff and the culture that you have in the game and the system, right? So speaking about the system, you have the workflow of the whole, and the team dynamic needs to be organized and set in a way that people understand what's going to happen after something happens, right? So I'll give you the example. Let's say I took a few shots from different coaches that I'm not doing demo reviews with players, and that's turned out to be such a big deal or some bullshit like that. But the thing is, like, you shouldn't do demo reviews with your players instantly. First, you need to set up a few processes, like, because nobody likes to be called out, even like after the game or day after the game, for the mistakes in front of all other people. That seems like those are young kids; it affects them. So the way you should do it, the way I did it, was I was watching all of that alone, without anyone. I was like trying to find out what were the gaps. I was, like I said, I didn't have the help of analysts and sports psychologists and team managers and all these things. There was no support. It was just only me, and many coaches today, they're facing the same thing that I did 5 years ago. The thing is, like, what you need to do is pretty much let's make an example for you guys so you can just understand it quite better. So you played a best of three, a rough best of three. It lasted for 4 hours. It finished up at 10 o'clock, and you lost 2-1. You made some cardinal mistakes. It's just terrible best of three for you. You lost, and I don't know if you're eliminated. It doesn't really matter if you just lost the online game or the first game of the tournament. It doesn't really matter. You lost, right? And accordingly to the schedule, you can organize something like this, and maybe you have a day off tomorrow or something like that. So first thing you do is, like, you have the post game briefing. You can say short briefing. Like, guys, listen, we made a couple of mistakes here, don't worry about it, like, go sleep it off, we're gonna talk about it tomorrow, and stuff like that. Just the light stuff, and just say, listen, guys, tomorrow at 5 o'clock we meet at the practice room, please be on time, just be there. So we're gonna talk about what happened today, how to fix it. And what you do is, like, you don't go and sleep till noon tomorrow and just chill a little bit and just show up and rewatch the game. No, you use your defensive analyst, offensive coach, defensive coach, whatever, sports psychologist, if you have access to him, and even use the team manager just for an extra set of eyes if you need to do that, because usually those people are connected to the CS in a lot of ways. Anyway, you just tell all of your staff, listen, we meet at 10 a.m. tomorrow to watch the game. All of us as a coaching staff, we process the game, we analyze the game, we see what happens, right? And then we make a report, we find the solution, and we meet with the players at 5 o'clock to discuss the solution and the problems that we had so they don't repeat anymore. So basically what happens is, like, you show up tomorrow at 10 a.m., you watch with your team, your coaching staff, you watch the game, you see, okay, listen, we missed 17 smokes in this best of three. Our utility damage was terrible. The flash assists were not there. The transitional defense is bad because, like, people are reacting poorly. We have a statistic where we lost 5v4 with the man advantage 35% of the time. We gave up the opening pick in the first 15-20 seconds 17 times in this best of three. So basically, like, and then we review all this. This is just some examples. There's like 50 more that I can name you right now off the top of my head. But those things, and we sit down and we rewatch that and we make an analysis as a coaching staff and sit down and say, listen, we missed that, we did this wrong, we did this good. Obviously, it's important to mention the things that you did good as well, so you can repeat it tomorrow or the day after, or the next match, so people have a understanding that it's not all bad, that it was some good things, but in along the way you fix the bad things that you did in the same day and on the same time. So you meet with the players at 5 o'clock and you say, listen, we did this, and this, we need to fix that, and that. If you need to show some clips, then you show some clips, like of missed smokes, of defensive rotation being too slow, or somebody stayed too long for a lurk, or somebody didn't use utility properly, or whatever it is, like whatever you find in the game, you just make it either visually presentable to the players, or you just explain them depending what kind of players do you have. Like, some players will understand if you show them the clips, some players will understand if you just tell them. It doesn't really matter. Like, the point is, like, understanding your players, and that's a responsibility of me or whoever is watching this is a coach, right, to actually make it work. And then, you present it to the players, you go into the practice, you go into the match, the next match, and I guarantee you 100% that will be fixed. And you set up this as a rinse and repeat. Just every single game is the same process, right? We win, we have a brief team talk. Okay, guys, we played well. This was good. Like, we need to repeat this tomorrow. The atmosphere was good. The teamwork was great. Whatever, like, it's just light things. Tomorrow, let's meet at 2 o'clock. I meet with my staff way earlier. We discuss things, like, and then if we played well, we just show them the good things. Like, listen, this is the strat that worked very well on 5v4. Just make sure that we can use it again. Listen, on this thing, like, you opened up like a couple of rounds as an op in this way, and it worked for you against this type of defense, whatever it is, right? You just make sure you analyze it and you present it to the players. And that's the process and the workflow that you need to have in order to have a successful team. It doesn't really matter about players you have. Like, you can have different type of players. You can have, like, pure firepower, no with a raw skill and no just particular variety of skills. You can just have just people who are specialists for one thing and make a team out of that, right? It's not that difficult, as long as you have the organized coaching staff, organized processes, organized workflow, instead of everything going random. You should be fine. And right now we don't have any of that. Right now we have things all over the place. Right now we have analysts being underused, coaching being like underused and don't even know what are they doing. In some cases, the owners giving the voices to and the decision making to the players who are just not qualified to do that whatsoever, and it's not their job and they're not paid for it. So it's just a lot of mess right now, and I think it can be much better. And this is what I wanted to do, for example, with EG, but I never really got a chance. And I kind of feel bad about it, and it's not that didn't make me mad or anything. It just killed the motivation that I had for the whole thing. And I feel bad about it because I was super enthusiastic about it. I was super happy that I finally get the chance to do something that I wanted to do and bring the coaching to the next level. Anyway, guys, this was the I think that kind of explains everything that I wanted to say in this video. And if you like it, just make sure you hit that button, subscribe button, and comment if you have any comments about this or anything. And before we close this video out, just a little outro, because just want to remind you that this video is not connected to betting, but I do have to remind you that 1xBet is an official partner of the channel right now, and if you head over there and register with code 1x Kassad or Kassad 1x, you get up to 130 euro bonus directly from me. So if you are a betting person, it doesn't really matter. This was like unrelated to that thing completely. So if you like this type of content, make sure you like and subscribe. And that's my story about coaching and the state of coaching right now. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm gonna come up with something more soon enough, and enjoy the major, because the games are pretty fun.